Right, so hi guys, hi, lovely to see you. So for a lot of women, the world of makeup brings much needed peace, control and empowerment. So to talk about makeup, we have Caroline Barnes and Madeline Spencer. Yay! So just a bit about Caroline. So Caroline is a celebrated London makeup artist. She has worked in the industry for over 20 years. She's at the top of her profession. Her reputation for approachable beauty has helped her establish an impressive roster of clients, from Emma Watson to Kylie Minogue. Caroline recently created NHS Morale Boost, which we were all involved in, an initiative that supported NHS workers in having access to beauty and makeup artists during COVID-19. So, hi, Caroline.
Hi, that was a lovely intro, thanks.
And we have Madeline Spencer, an award-winning journalist and blogger who's written for titles including Marie Claire, Elle, Porter, Huffington Post and Stylist. Her podcast, Beautiful Lives, is an interview series that is featured in the top 50 podcasts charts on iTunes. And Maddie writes about mental health, travel and life's little niggles. As a makeup artist, she specialises in weddings and event makeup. So welcome to you both.
Thanks.
So first off, Lee, can you explain in your experience how you've seen makeup and beauty being used as a force for good? Now, you've won a Hero Award for this.
I did a while back.
A Hero Award?
Yeah.
2016.
Wow, what's that, Lee?
That was when I was, it was actually from Help for Heroes, when I was running the charitable initiative and we were doing lots of different events within different vulnerable sectors. And we were taking teams of artists into hospices.
I remember now, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember, into cancer centres, to work with veterans and their carers, people with struggling bereavement. And after I put several events together for war veterans and their carers for Help for Heroes, they awarded me, quite surprisingly, with a Hero Award. I mean, I had no idea it was coming, for outstanding contribution to their band of brothers and band of sisters. So that was very lovely back in 2016. But to answer your question, I think for me, it was doing those events in the vulnerable sectors and working with people who were going through these very difficult life challenges. I mean, trauma, really, which is what we were talking about at the beginning of the event. And watching them have an emotional shift as they were going through this process of having their makeup done. Maddie's left us.
Oh, no, I haven't. Have I?
Your picture's gone.
She's having an emotional shift.
Sorry.
There we go.
She's like, that was boring.
Sorry. Yeah.
I would see these people having this emotional shift and feeling something different. And I didn't know at the time why this was happening. But as the events grew bigger and we brought more artists in and this happened more and we got all this different feedback, and Carol, I'm sure you're going to contribute a lot to this with what you've done. But then when I trained to be a psychotherapist, I realized what we were doing and why people were having this big emotional reaction, and that we were meeting a lot of these people's emotional needs within this beauty ritual and makeup ritual and grooming ritual that we were involved with them. In the sense that we were putting them in a different environment, we were putting together events where they had something in common with the people around them. We were giving them a sense of status and a sense of focused attention, which is emotional need, and we were giving them a sense of control, because they were able to pick things out and decide what look they were going to have, and give them time to nurture themselves, to slow down, and to use that beauty ritual as a time to just check in with themselves and to have a new visual reference point and the power of touch. So that was when I saw that actually beauty, although it's sometimes trivialized, can have a much deeper meaning. And I think, Caroline, I'm really interested to know, because we've known each other for years and have had sort of not dissimilar career paths, but you started up NHS Morale Boost. I'm sure you've got a lot to say about the very joyful, positive part of makeup as well. And I'm really interested to hear what your experiences and any stories you have from what you did recently.
Yeah, and I have to be honest that, you know, I didn't start as a makeup artist to sort of help people feel better about themselves. That wasn't the idea of being a makeup artist at all. And actually working with sort of very renowned celebrities actually kind of started to make me realise how powerful makeup is in terms of creating a mask, creating, you know, a body armour, a confidence, a false face, whatever it is, to kind of give you the confidence to go out into the outside world.
Yes.
And then I started working with Look Good Feel Better, just to kind of create a bit of balance in my life. That's a charity that looks after people who are going through chemotherapy, teaching them how to readdress makeup without any eyelashes or eyebrows, hair, etc. So it became a really lovely prong to my career, that it was just a nice thing to be able to do. That I think we'd all probably agree that we're really, really lucky in our careers. We've exposed to a lot of beautiful places, we've travelled, we've met so many people, and it's kind of a nice way to sort of say thank you in a way.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a skill that, rather than just being part of the cog or being part of a team, it's nice to actually go outside of our bubble and go, hey, look, you know, we can do something different. Anyway, so with the NHS morale boost, my one concern is exactly going back to what you said, is that I wasn't sure whether the NHS or the people receiving the one-to-one consultation would actually get the sense of satisfaction or happiness that they would do if I was one-to-one with them, or said person was one-to-one with them. Because obviously we're now living our world through our screens, which, please may this end soon, you know, slightly. You know, I'm happy to do a little bit of it, but I'd like to see you in the flesh as well, Lee. And so that was a really joyous thing, because I was so nervous, because I was literally organised this whole thing, and I knew I didn't have to worry about the people that were involved because they were all fabulous. I just didn't know how it would work out, and it was a bit like, right, off you go. And it was like 10 days of like, oh, please, please. And obviously everything, as you know, is very exposed. I can't hide from anyone. If someone thinks that what I've done is shit, sorry, what I've done is rubbish, then they'll tell me, and it will be all over the feed, and it might ruin it. And of course, as we all know, we can all take on a lovely compliment, can't we? Hundreds of them. And if one person goes, well, I don't think that you are, you know, all that. And then you're like, oh no, like, for the whole thing, you can't get this thread out of your head. Right, bad. I know, just like, why I don't want to be that person. Human beings, I guess. So that was really nice, that actually, virtually, it does work, and it's just human contact, isn't it? It's just someone caring for you, being interested in you, and looking at you. You know, it's just sort of British culture, I suppose, that, you know, we're sort of a little bit sort of subservient, and, you know, don't really want to look in the mirror unless we're sort of talking about what we want our hair done, and then, you know, heads down. But we're becoming more proud of ourselves now, which, you know, is what you guys talk about all the time, and it's because you talk about this kind of stuff that everyone feels a bit more relaxed to expose themselves, I suppose.
And did you get lots of sort of feedback? What was the sort of feedback you've got from the people that you've been working with? Because it's quite interesting, isn't it? The emotional reaction people can have.
Realising mainly that actually we are, and I have to remind myself of this because we are consumed by our world, that we are in such a bubble, and the majority of women don't talk, think, experience makeup, skincare, hair products the way that we do. And we sometimes feel that we might be repeating ourselves, but people have busy lives, they have families, intense jobs, they don't have the time to think about themselves, and actually it's so important to do that. So our messaging is key to kind of keep going, because it makes such a difference. And people don't really get that chance to talk about themselves. I mean, nowhere. Like you say, you can go into Mac or a department store or wherever, and you can have your makeup done. But that's different to having like a personal consultation. How are you? What do you like? Not like, I want a coral blusher, or what's the best waterproof mascara, or do my makeup because I'm going to such an event. That's very different to, you know, saying, how are you? So it doesn't really exist, you know. And so it's kind of like, I suppose, sort of makeup therapy, isn't it? With Lee, that's exactly what you've done and won an award for, which is brilliant. So it seems such a new thing, because makeup, and also what I was really sort of scratching my head about was, I don't want to make this thing, you know, how to glamorize yourself while people are dying, like, because it could have gone so badly wrong. So that morale boost, when I just thought of that in the middle of the night, I was like, that's what it is. It's not a masterclass, it's not a makeover, because no one needs to be made over.
No.
Want to be able to, you know, feel better, and they were very, the messages I got, as Lisa and you'll probably all know, because I know you all got them, people were just really genuinely thankful, and enjoyed it and would love to do more, but yeah, we'll see.
Absolutely. And
but it's amazing that it's such a rare thing, and it never really occurred to me that actually it isn't that available for people, because it's all about aesthetics, and it's so nice that makeup now isn't really about glamorizing yourself or making yourself look sexy or going out. It's about looking after yourself. However you do it, whether you do it, with lashes and contour, or whether you do it like Lisa, just soft, pretty and freckly and effortless, whatever your vibe is, it's just really a nice thing to do. And that's a whole different perspective than it. And that's pretty new, I think, for,
it's fun.
I don't think most women actually have that confidence.
Yeah, it's fun as well, isn't it? It's like there is a lot of mindfulness because you're there in front of the mirror, and but at the end of the day, you're playing with the makeup products, and it's actually really fun.
Yes.
Maddie, can you tell us about your story with makeup, please?
Yeah, well, I first realised that makeup had this innate power actually through my own experience with it, and I have this really vivid memory. When I was about 10, my aunt died, and it was really sad, and it'd been quite drawn out. But right around the time that we were sort of planning, events around it, like funerals and wakes and things like that, I had these nail polishes, right? And I used to paint my nails every night. And I was only a kid, but it was a way of soothing myself and of having something really concrete to do. And then as I got older, I found that whenever I was facing some adversity, something challenging, something that needed a bigger me to handle it, a version of me that I didn't have, I would go to makeup. It was just a way of going, this is some armor. And actually, I wasn't wearing loads of it necessarily. It just was a way of kind of directioning how I wanted to feel. So I became very aware of this connection between feeling and makeup. And it was never just the thing I put on my face. It was always about expression or wanting to direct my own personality in a way that would help me to deal with whatever was going on in life. Sometimes it was just fun, but sometimes it was that. So then, I mean, at school, it was always the case that because I loved makeup so much, people would come to me and say on a Saturday night, can you do my makeup? Or, let's have a bit of makeup time, or whatever it was. And I found that, again, it wasn't necessarily the people who are naturally considered to be naturally really beautiful or whatever who benefited the most. It would be the people who had, say, acne at 16, and you'd cover it up, and then they'd suddenly go, you know what, I think that boy's going to kiss me tonight. And they did kiss them because they had that confidence, so that was a very, very it became a very obvious connection to me. And then through doing beauty journalism, and to some extent through doing makeup for people, that connection has never broken for me. It's always been a big part of my life and a big part of other people's lives, if I can, be a part of that.
It's really interesting, actually, Maddie, because there's a book written by a really renowned therapist, and it's called Which You Are You? And it's when she would use within her therapy the different characters we have been at different times in our life. There's times when we felt courageous, times when we felt vulnerable, and all these different times we felt something different. And sometimes when people go through a low mood or a low period of challenge, they forget that character, who they were at that other time in their life. They disconnect from their resources and their true self, because they in shutdown mode. And that which you are you, she would often say, which you are you when you're dealing with that situation? Which you are you could you tap into and use the beauty ritual and makeup ritual in terms of bringing that character out, that you need to be on that day to go through that challenge. Is sort of really linking into what you were just saying there. It's so interesting.
But having an awareness of it means that you can use it you can also harness the power of it, right? So suddenly I realized that I was doing that. And then now when I'm feeling, a bit tired, it's week 9 of lockdown, it's incredibly, we're all stuck inside. I put on a red lip, I put on loads of mascara, put my hair to one side, and suddenly I'm like, aha, there she is.
Absolutely.
And it's not a massive transformation, but for me, when I see myself in the mirror, it kind of triggers a backwards response of, this is going to be over. You're wearing red lipstick, the world can't be that bad, it's fine. And you kind of, so it sends a message inwards, and I find that really important.
Bit of an anchor for you.
Yeah.
What happened to me, that's when I thought of the word I'm back, is when I looked in the mirror, and after a couple of pretty difficult years, I started applying my mascara, and I actually noticed a sparkle in my eye, and then I was applying some highlighter around my cheeks, and I was like, oh my God, I'm back. I feel incredible. And I wasn't even using that much. I think I was just more consciously aware that I was applying it. And I felt like I did a couple of years before. And that's when I was like, I'm back. So it's, yeah.
But you must all know this feeling of like, when you either give someone the right product or show them it or put it on them and it's the right thing, and their face, they look in the mirror and suddenly you just see this aha, you know, and it's a massive difference to mood. It's not, you know, and then that has the knock-on effect. So I think it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Caroline, I'm just interested, when you were saying earlier about when you first went into makeup, and you've worked with a lot of celebrities, I mean, do you think that the dialogue and the way people vocalize when they spoke about makeup, especially in the media back, you know, even 10 years ago, it was very much about covering and concealing, and now the language around it has changed to it being a ritual where it can be something that's more, the words are more empowering,
glowy and fresh,
and then it's more of a self-care thing rather than it being a you know, the language, or we're concealing something, or we're trying to hide something, if you like.
In terms of when I'm working with celebrities, or what goes in the press?
When you first started working with celebrities, and the sort of language and the way you would use makeup, and the dialogue has really changed nowadays, do you think?
It depends on the client. Sometimes you are just, you know, part of that cog, and it needs to be done because you've got a long day and filming and you're shooting and there's lights and there's, you know, things that we need to get through. Sometimes people just hand the whole look over to you and the stylist, and you kind of say, this is what we're going to do, and they're like, great, I've literally got so much script to learn, or I've got to go and do this filming. So it's completely different. I just think there's a lovely rapport that you have with your clients, hence why if you do work with people, you tend to work with them for many years, because there's a big trust that you build up with people. Because you kind of do expose yourself, don't you? You end up exposing your vulnerabilities, and people want to know what they're going to get, because it's quite a trust thing, isn't it? That you may be doing a big red carpet event and you've got someone you've never met before and they are painting your face, and you might not like that. And a lot of people don't have the confidence to go, you know what, I don't really like that. That's not very nice. So they just sit there, and you hear the stories of people go, oh God, I had this terrible makeup and the brushes stank and I didn't like the products, but I just didn't dare say anything. And you're like, oh, because that, you know, again, that is an awkward situation you might find yourself in, isn't it? But I don't know. I suppose it's because more of the business side. It's sort of more of what's expected, and you sort of turn up as the professional and the knowledge giver, and you know, you give your advice. And I don't know whether it has that sort of holistic side necessarily when you're at work, but I think definitely with consumers and public and friends and everything else, there definitely is a turn that it's not just about painting your face to look prettier or sexier or whatever it is. It's just making yourself feel good.
Yeah, because your content, Lisa, what you direct at Marie Claire is very much more of a sort of holistic view of it, isn't it? And that whereas it can be overly focused on image, especially with social media, but you're very much, the content you're driving is very much broader than that.
I mean, I always do talk about, you know, glowy skin, and that comes from inner health and inner radiance through nutrition and hydration and all of that. So, but again, on a shoot, it would be about enhancing features, not covering up, not changing somebody's face shape or lip shape. It's just more about enhancing, I think.
Yeah. And that takes a long time for those words to communicate into the masses, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has taken a long time, actually.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. Yeah.
So how would you use, Caroline, how would you use a makeup ritual, and as a sort of positive one? What would you do for yourself, or something where you wanted to boost your mood? What sort of thing would you do?
Well, not obviously, but I had really bad skin for years. So skin is my kind of Achilles heel. If my skin doesn't feel good, then I just feel dreadful. So I've spent a lot of time and research trying to work out what's best for me. I'm definitely finding a mirror and a good light. I mean, you know, I've never even thought about it before, but most of us have little bathrooms if you make up yourself in your bathroom with one window. And there's always a horrible side light, much like I've got now. And you kind of like do your makeup and there's no satisfaction. So kind of finding a space where it's away from everyone else with nice light, a decent mirror, so that I look good when I sort of put my makeup on, so I can actually see a difference. It makes me feel better. but it's just lots and lots of hydration, a little bit of a glow, and just a colour, just a little bit of colour in cheeks. You know, I can dress my eyes, but I have to be very subtle and kind of do like veils of colour in my eyes because they don't suit a lot of makeup now. Never really did. I think sort of being slightly paler and blonder, you don't have that. I mean, there obviously are no rules, but for me, I just look better with less, but in more subtle ways. I think it's a more modern way of wearing makeup anyway. And even for that, you know, a lot of people that we were talking through to NHS Morale Boost, even just the suggestion of one cream eyeshadow that was slightly metallic and that would shape your eye for you was like, wow, does it? And you're like, yeah, it does. Look at the effect. And it's just the way makeup is communicated. And I think definitely a lot of brands can look at retraining and reinvesting, you know, your knowledge, Lee, to kind of the people that are selling makeup to actually stop selling and just do a whole different chat with the consumer, and they'll buy it a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've loved the experience, they feel good, they understand it more. And I just think it's it's a cleverer way. Not that you're being snidey at all. You're just teaching. Education is everything, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is power. And I just think rather than just going this mascara, there's just other ways of amplifying your eyes that are a little bit more delicate and a bit more natural, rather than kind of going in with that heavy eyeliner or, you know, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Mm. And Maddie, you've sort of blogged quite a bit about sort of various sort of mental health topics and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you sort of feel makeup and beauty has helped you in that way? Does it sort of give you that sense of control? Or
I think, well, for me, in my experience, so as someone who's had agoraphobia, the thing is very much about feeling ready to face the world somehow. So it has such a direct impact on it. And I mean, it isn't the deciding factor for me of whether I'm going to have a good day or a bad day, or whether previously I'd have a good day or bad day, but it does make a difference. I always feel on a back foot if I don't feel like I've, you know, put the clothes on that I fancy wearing that day. It doesn't have to be loads of makeup, but doing something, you know. And like Caroline, I suffered from acne a lot when I was younger, so, and a little bit now still. I mean, I've just had an enormous spot and I'd completely forgotten how much it dents your confidence. I had to go out and I covered it, and it was not coverable really. And I'd completely forgotten that it makes you feel in your head, I'm sure no one was looking at it, but I just kept thinking every single person I pass is looking at my spot. And so that kind of thing can sometimes add a dialogue you don't need. So it's almost like if you look the way you want to look, it doesn't occur to you. And I always used to say this to myself, and I say it to other people too, that when you have makeup on that you like, and you feel confident in, you will not be thinking about it when you're at dinner. You won't be thinking about it when you're talking to someone. It will just feel like you, and that's when you know you're wearing the right makeup, because it's not a big deal. So I think for me, it's almost about removing the self-consciousness so that I'm not worried about the way I look and I can think about other things, and it kind of frees me in that way.
Do you think it's the sort of the ritualistic part of it, is that you have this ritual, you know there's a sequence of events that are going to happen that you have some certainty and control over, and you know the kind of outcome, and you know when they take place, that is helping? Yeah, I think that there's two elements to that. On the one hand, I'm not particularly OCD about having a ritual, but I do like the ritual of just taking a moment. And, you know, having 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do my makeup is always a lovely time. It's a time where it's completely indulgent. It's completely about doing something that isn't necessary. It doesn't, you know, do anything to get me anywhere in life apart from in my own head. So it does feel like a ritual. But I have to say that one of the things that I have always done when I get nervous is I can really over egg the pudding on myself. So I'll do my makeup and then I'll sort of get a bit nervous, look in the mirror and go, I need more. And my friend, one of my best friends, would always go to me, stop, you're done. But I'd sometimes, like, particularly if I was nervous before a night out, you know, more eyeliner would go on and I'd suddenly come out looking a bit like a pantomime person. But, you know, I kind of learned to scale that back. But it could sometimes be a nervous thing that I'd use to calm me down. So I'd end up with too much makeup on for me.
What's your feel-good makeup?
Yeah, go on.
Maddie, what's your feel-good makeup?
I know that for me, if I want to feel like I look good, which I suppose is feel-good makeup, it will always be like a little bit of like subtle shimmer on my eyes, lots of mascara. My eyelashes have to be curly, which is annoying because they're naturally dead straight. So I have to curl them 65 times and keep them going up. And my skin has to feel good. If my skin doesn't feel good, it's game over. There's no point in doing anything else. So I guess, yeah, like a kind of really enhanced eye. I like to feel like, you know what? It used to be an obsession with, you know, Kate Moss in like 2007 when she was going out with Pete Doherty, right? And she always had a bit of eye makeup on. It always looked a bit smudgy.
Yeah,
I would never look like that because that's just not my look. But in my head, that's what I like. That's what I want.
Your makeup looks so nice tonight. I love the
Yeah,
the what have you got on your cheeks? So
me?
Yeah.
I have it here. I have Daniel Sandler's watercolor blush.
Of course you do. That's the best one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because that sort of need for when we go into the emotional brain, like if we get nervous or anxious or in the emotional brain, and then looking for that something that we can control, you know, so you go back into doing, you know, your makeup, or you might find people who are really into enhancing their face might go overboard a bit because it gives them a sense of control over something.
Yeah.
But I think you can also use your beauty ritual to calm yourself down, especially in the evening, for example, you know, by tuning into your senses and you know, being mindful about what you're actually doing in the present moment. So I think there's sort of very different ways it can be used.
And you know, touch as well. Sorry, Maddie.
No, I was just going to say, do you know what I find really helps with that is it might sound incongruous, but music, because I know that music doesn't necessarily mean you're tuning into yourself in the right way, but actually if I cleanse my face with just listening to, I don't know, like even something like Ella Fitzgerald, right? Like it depends what mood I'm in, but I somehow find I take longer. It feels a bit more cinematic.
That's
so I enjoy myself.
I've never thought about that.
It makes such an impact on me.
Well, music is an amazing way to shift your emotional state. You know, it's a big anchor for people, different types of music. You know, it will transport you. So, well, that's a really interesting conversation, girls. Thank you so much. We're going to,
brilliant.
Yeah, it was just lovely thank you so much for coming on and joining us. I know you're going to stay for the next bit.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having me too.